Dying night, the shadow of the bleeding night. The sword is losing its light, there's nowhere to hide. It's time to face the dark and fight them back. The moon is turning into evil red, burns the desert into ash, ruin the ark with chaos fire, yeah. Survivors won't pray for luck, belief could be hard as rocks, go against the deepest dark. The saddest calling you above the sky. This war will end with the bravest men. Sent on the regroup for the fight, now we've come back. I'm wondering who I am, run through the fire, chasing for the meaning of the endless fighting. Who I am, the hands of flame, would I be a hero, would I see my neverland? I'll fight for the dreams that you had, believe in your friends, get ready for the royal fight. You know who I am, it's right on time, illuminate and lead the sky till the dawn, back to life. Dying night, the shadow of the lonely night. The sword is losing its light, there's nowhere to hide. It's time to face the dark and fight them back. The sand is turning into evil black, burns the desert into ash, ruin the ark with chaos fire, yeah. Survivors won't pray for luck, belief could be hard as rocks, go against the deepest dark. The saddest calling you above the sky. This war will end with the bravest men. Sent on the regroup for the fight, now we've come back. I'm wondering who I am, run through the fire, chasing for the meaning of the endless fighting. Who I am, the hands of flame, would I be a hero, would I see my neverland? I'll fight for the dreams that you had, believe in your friends, get ready for the royal fight. You know who I am, it's right on time, illuminate the clear sky till the dawn brings you back to life. I've seen my people down with sword in their hands, still standing their ground. No time for sadness, holding my faith, just keep on moving on. Fires and fires are falling everywhere, crying in the air, shouting out a glorious name. The name of the Savior in history till forever. Your faith is leading your way to the light. We know the real fighters never die. Send on and fight them one more time, now we've come back. You're gonna know who I am, run through the fire, finding out the meaning of the ruthless fighting. Here I am, the hand of flame, I will be the hero and rebuild my home, my land. I'll fight for the dreams that you had, believe in your friends, get ready for the royal fight. You know who I am, it's right on time, illuminate and lead the sky till the dawn brings you back to life. Dying night, the shadow of the bleeding night. The sword is losing its light, there's nowhere to hide. It's time to face the dark and fight them back. The moon is turning into evil red, burns the desert into ash, ruin the ark with chaos fire, yeah. Survivors won't pray for luck, belief could be hard as rocks, go against the deepest dark. The saddest calling you above the sky. This war will end with the bravest men. Sent on the regroup for the fight, now we've come back. I'm wondering who I am.
What is going on, governors? Chiscool here with Bulbaritos, and we're going to be checking out the Osiris League Grand Finals, the very first match, in fact, of the Grand Finals for Season 5 of Ark of Osiris League. Bulbaritos, how are you, man?
Good morning, everybody. Man, I hope y'all as excited as I am. we're buckling up, getting ready for these grand finals. They're going to be absolutely insane. This first week we're going to have 2 matches. Next week, and the preceding weeks, we could have some epic clashes going on. So I'm excited. You always love some Osiris League content, so it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, the thing that's exciting about the grand finals is that they really try to equalize the playing field here. So all the teams in the grand finals have access to every commander in the game, whatever talents they want to use. Equipment is not in play. So things that really change the dynamic of how commanders work are not available, like the Horn of Fury, for example. No Rings of Doom, no lucky coins, no talented legendaries, none of it. And so this is going to be, I think, very interesting to watch. If I recall correctly, the only advantage that you retain is perhaps your VIP level. Does that sound right?
Nope. That was one of the changes. And before we jump into that, man, you're making the Bulburitos name look really good today. So thank you for making me look more good looking than I usually do. But no, that was one of the things that we discussed with them last season.
Yep.
Was the idea that VIP maybe it didn't make a massive difference, but it still contributed to or didn't contribute to leveling the field. So this season they removed it. So a VIP will no longer play a role in the grand finals this season. As along with equipment and any other buffs that you would do, is literally they squash the field. It is going to be whatever they give you is what both teams are going to be able to run with this season.
That's good. Yes, in fact, I will cite the rules now. The buffs section of the gameplay rules says within the grand finals, technology, VIP levels, and alliance technology buffs will not take effect. So there you go. All other buffs, including those from kingdom titles, crystal technologies, the occupation of holy sites, and so on, will not take effect either. So this is, I would say, in a really good way, a more level playing field than it was before. However, surprisingly, despite it being a more level playing field, I can't recall a time where we saw more one-sided placements of Oryx bets on which team was actually going to win this particular week. So let me just jump in game, and I can show you what that looks like really quickly. And by the way, the match is going to start in under 5 minutes. So there's a bunch of things in game we should be looking at. So let's jump to that now.
But yeah, no, I know we're both excited for it. Set troops. There's a lot of things that I wish these rules were in place for Osiris League, man. We wouldn't be worrying about troops, and it comes down truly to who has the best strategy, and that's all we really want to see. And I'm excited to see how these young guns stack up with some of these veteran teams, and that's what's exciting about the grand finals.
Yeah. Well, it says the grand finals will begin. Wow, look at that. They've even got the announcement in game. I mean, if you didn't know this was about to happen. Oh, yes, baby. This is going down in 5 minutes. The match begins. So you can see the placement of Oryx here is very one-sided toward both OneV and 60GT. The matches that are taking place today are OneV versus 06HS and 61HX versus 60GT. This is the winners of each of the realms of Ark of Osiris League in Season 5. And 60GT is not new to this arena. In fact, if I remember correctly, they won the Osiris League Grand Finals last season. Is that right?
60GT, yes. They beat JST, and that was the... man, it came down to the wire. It was that last provisioner and I still can't forget the last provisioner. He was literally outside. He could have thrown a rock at his city. That's how close it was. And 60GT knocked out JST, and it was just like, oh man, and they went on to win it, and it was very, very impressive for sure.
Yeah. So it's understandable, I think, why these teams are favored. 60GT is the returning champion. OneV is the winner of the oldest, toughest realm. I mean, is that fair for me to say? The oldest
100%.
realm is the toughest realm in Ark of Osiris League? I think so.
I think so.
And I think people are voting with their Oryx here. So even though the playing field is leveled, people have strong opinions, but I think we're both really eager from amazing gameplay from all teams here and some really close matches. And I am very hopeful, in fact, that this is going to come down to the wire. Now, if it does come down to the wire, do you think that the grand finals, given that there's not equipment shenanigans going on, there's commanders, all equal, so, you know, anybody could have whatever garrison you want, do you think that that's going to change the dynamic of what is valued? Battling for arcs versus battling for buildings. Do you think one strategy is more favored in this context?
I think, honestly, I think what we're going to see the most of is with our older, I don't want to say older, but with our older teams that have been playing for quite a while, they understand the importance of kind of cohesion between all 5 of your marches. And even though the field is level, I think that's where they spend the most practice, the most time, you know, in practice matches, experimenting with different combos. And, you know, and that's where I think the young teams, the young guns, are going to start to pick up on some of the subtleties that these big boy teams automatically already do, even in before the grand final. So I think that's probably the most important thing for us to keep an eye on. Is everyone will have XY available, everyone will have every commander available, but it's just a matter of how they're using them and how each player is identifying what they need to do on the map.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some advantage to teams that already had access to basically any commander they wanted by virtue of being in these older realms and having played a lot, right? There is a lot of power to having an old account. And in that regard, again, I think that old realms are generally favored here. Now, the match begins in 1 minute and 5 seconds here. We'll be jumping into this match, but Bulburitos, something that we've been doing in a number of these matches we've been casting together, is making a prediction on the spread here, the point spread. And in fact, by the way, there are sub bets that you can place. And I haven't dabbled too much in this, but you can make bets on the kill leader, provisions score leader, and more. But what do you think is going to be the final point spread here? Do you think, and you know, I could give like a number as a baseline, right? Do you think it will be a more than 5,000 point spread or a less than 5,000 point spread?
I think it'll be more.
More than 5,000 point spread.
Yeah, I think this is one of those, we're going to see rotations and times and just kind of different calibers of teams. It's not a shot at any of the teams. I think they're all great in their own right. When I'm looking at the teams that OneV had to go through and the teams that a couple other teams had to go through, you know, we're talking about going through JST 2 times in a row, then going through BG, then they went through the gauntlet of the top tier teams. And I think that's kind of what's going to shine through. But, you know, 06 did their thing as well. 94 VN, you know, and I just think that's going to be the thing. I think mid game is going to decide it. And I'm interested to hear what your prediction is going to be.
Yeah, I think I'll echo your sentiment and say that practice against top tier teams helps make you a top tier team for sure. So I think you're right that the opportunity to battle against a team like JST does give 1V a bit of edge here. And here we go. A look at the key combatants and the road to the championship. You can see that here. They battled against JST. They had the opportunity to do that twice in the finals. And some amazing teams along the way. Also, High Hopes battled against Rays twice, winning twice, by the way, in the finals for their realm. So both very strong teams here, and it's showing a shocking number of stars here for both teams in the top. I don't think they've each held the Zig 5 times. I think on the way in it was showing us 1V had held the Zig 3 times and High Hopes twice. But man, that is a lot of stars. Also, I think it shows them as 6-time champions.
Oh, nice.
that what that is? That
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
9 times. Is that-
9-time champion.
Yeah,
Yep.
9-time champion. Okay, let's go.
Just to answer some questions and statements in the chat, guys, all commanders are available per the rules. Regardless if you're in Season of Conquest or not, all commanders are available. Okay, so this is about as even of a playing field as you are going to get. VIP doesn't count, equipment doesn't count. All commanders are unlocked. Troops are set at specific numbers: 2 million T5s, and I think it was 500K T1 cap. So this is about as level of a playing field as we're going to get. But just what kind of combos are you thinking now that all commanders are available? What do you think are going to be kind of the meta?
Well, you know I like to talk about this stuff. So, I mean, you opened a can of worms right there. I think we're going to be seeing Nevsky with William. I think we're going to see XY with Honda Tadakatsu. I think garrisons are primarily going to be Jad YSS with some Xeno YSS sprinkled in. That is a strategic choice for certain garrisons that they're looking to hold for a bit longer. Typically, well, we'll see where they put them. I've got a few theories there. And I think we will probably see Nebu with Isong or Nebu with Honda. That's also a very popular pair. Oh, and Guan Alex all over the place. Here we go. The battle begins! They're going to start setting those rallies, and there's a number of things they're going to rally. That is going to include things like the obelisks, which we would expect. But what I don't see, and Bulba, did you expect this? I would have, there they are. The outpost rallies. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and the other thing to keep an eye on, and I know it surprised a lot of people that competed against OneV, is the amount of Hondas that were used in their road to the championship. They utilized Honda to the maximum, and I think it surprised a lot of people. They switched it up as well with Ethel swarms. I remember we were doing some casts with Ethel swarming on structures, and it was absolutely filthy. So I am seeing some eddies coming out on the side of 1V.
No way.
We are seeing Mr. Banana Hat himself roaming the field right now, and so this is going to be very, very exciting.
Edward of Woodstock. I mean,
yep.
This should be exciting for really all players to watch, and a part of the reason for that is that this is a look into what some of the top-tier teams think are the very best choices. So I am as surprised as you are to see Banana Helmet himself, that is Edward of Woodstock, on the field. There is, by the way, hard push for both sides. That's going to accelerate the pace of these rallies and also the capture time when they go take structures. An interesting choice by both teams to activate hard push, because I think it's actually a really strong choice to not activate it and try to just be a little bit tougher on your structures, hold them for longer before you start taking points, and then have the extra points for a mid-fight. But the teams are making their choices here as they start to capture obelisks and make their way downfield. Presumably, we'll see a really heavy push through the Shrine of War toward the altar, as we've seen. So I would expect 1V is going to come charging down this attack vector and sit on that altar to try to get the first capture points. And similarly, High Hopes will move through this Shrine of War toward the desert altar. And if we try to get a look and see if that's what they're doing, I mean, hard to say definitively, but it looks like they're on the way. By the way, one other march that I neglected to mention, Ethel Trajan, very popular. I think they're using the Ethel primary in order to take advantage of the peacekeeping talents that give march speed. So there's a very heavy emphasis from veterans of this game mode on march speed for sure.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now, and 06 are they're pulling out what typically we would see from 1V. They're running a ton of XYs, a ton of Nevskys. Like they aren't coming with a lot of Ethels, and it's going to be a little bit surprising how these first fights go. I am seeing mixed Ethel rally coming through. Okay, it just broke off. Okay,
I saw that too.
Yeah,
that's a troop transport. That's what rally that is right there.
So top side is looking very, very spicy. We got a lot of cav forward pushing. They are stopping, so we're gonna see some fights here with about 100 seconds before the shrines and altars open up.
Yeah, I will say that with regard to the symmetry of the map here, that there is an asymmetry to the positioning these teams have taken. I would say that High Hopes is behind the position, perhaps, that we see OneV is in here. OneV has got a nice little wall going in front of their altar, whereas High Hopes is still working their way to that position. However, on this side, High Hopes now assaulting that wall created by OneV to create space between the players of High Hopes in red and OneV. OneV looking to get the first capture on this altar. Of course, it's on their side. That's what you would expect. And if we just get a glance down at the southern side, things are a bit more contentious. Perhaps not, though, actually. OneV is making an... OneV is pulling an audible, it would seem. Are they? I can't tell. Are they going south?
They did this against JST. Yeah, they kind of did a little trap thing against JST where they appeared to full send to the desert altar on bottom side, and then they split half their force to go to the shrine, and then that shrine, when they stole double first occupation against JST on that last match. So that's how they ended up doing it. So it is very interesting. I think they reapproached on the desert altar instead of splitting this time. So, but that's how they snuck those first occupations. It's always something nice to watch, and both sides are looking absolutely brutal right now. Oof.
Yes, indeed. That is surprising. And, you know, my only guess as to what they're doing with these Edward marches, by the way, you see one of those banana helmets getting worked on over here, is maybe they've got Edward and Tommy. And, you know, I will say Edward of Woodstock does have march speed, a lot of it, actually. Which, if you understand that these teams really value march speed, you'd understand that that's why they might be using banana helmet. I mean, hey, I'd love a reason to dust off that helmet and put him back in the lineup. You know,
as we're looking at the map right now, we have 06 over here on top side sneaking in with the Jad in garrison for that altar. So
yeah,
we could see a snub. I think they are clearing out the field though, so this swarm should start engaging on this altar very, very quickly. And we got 6.5 minutes before first altar or first arc. So
props to High Hopes on that quick hands grab of the 1v altar here. And really, it's just about who gets in first, because everybody's got their Jad lined up over here. There's no shortage of Jads just waiting to get into the darn structure. So pretty quick to swap him to captain, and a very nice play. 1 minute until first occupation. So that is very, very limited time for 1v to actually sort this thing out. And I don't know that they will, actually, which is somewhat surprising because it's on their side of the map. So High Hopes is actually throwing down really early here in a way that 1v has to really be feeling that pressure.
And here come the reinforcements topside for that altar. Let's see if they can get in. They're absolutely hustling with 30 seconds left before first occupation gets stolen. And it looks like they're going to make it through.
I think High Hopes has pulled this off. I mean, they've only got 20 seconds that they need to hold this thing. And here come the marches. All they got to do is get in.
And then I did watch bottom side. Once they cleared out that altar, they started rotating back to their obelisk to refresh their marches to start rotating in towards mid. So that is going to be very important. And with 3, 2, 1, and they steal first occupation away from 1v.
Woo! First occupation. Oh, by a matter of seconds, by the way. By a matter of seconds, those first occupation points pulled down for High Hopes. That is a strong, bullish start for High Hopes. People who place their Oryx on 1v have got to be sweating a little bit now. That first occupation score, by the way, on the screen, 750 points, just for getting that first capture. So those points in hard push really paying off. Every minute mattered there. And then they lost the structure. However, I will still call attention to the fact that 1v did get the Shrine of Life, and that is 400 first occupation points. Not bad.
Yeah, and right now we're going to watch, and I think this is where kind of the rubber will meet the road here is this first rotation in towards mid. We're going to see both of these teams looked very, very strong in their own right when it came to mid fights. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited to see after losing that first occupation, it puts a little additional pressure on 1v to really try to secure this first arc. That way they can kind of reset the field, realign everything, and then start focusing on some structures and then just kind of dictate the pace of the match moving forward.
Yeah. You know, one thing you'll notice as you look at the map and the presence of Honda Tadakatsu is felt everywhere. Is this? You may not recognize his portrait, but you will recognize his shadow with the giant polearm. You're going to see that shadow all over the place here with a number of marches that use Honda Tadakatsu. Also, you can see the signature lance, I believe that is, with the flag on it of William. Great cavalry secondary. These folks are all lining up in the middle now. 3 minutes and 20 seconds till the arc spawns. And I'm expecting a big brawl.
I like the aggression. Look, 06 already trying to push out 1V. You see him pulling back. This is the kind of aggression that you want to see, especially against a team like 1V. Like you just can't be tentative. You got to choose as a team, move forward. There they go. They should pull back. They are going to form up their ball, and they took forward position now against 1V. But 1V, go ahead.
Well, I agree with you. I like the aggression, but also I just want to point out that 1V is very comfortable taking fights from all the way back on their side of the canyon in which the arc spawns. And we've seen them do this a number of times where they're like, all right, come on to our side of the battlefield, and they clean you up and they take the arc. So I both like the aggression and want to advise that, like, also that could be something they're just very comfortable with.
I agree, and that's actually what I was going to say too, is don't be fooled. 1V, this is actually what happened in all their matches against JST. JST took the early, positioning, and then 1V just came in with the skills and just steamrolled. They do this weird spread strat where they like make a line, a wall, and then they start moving it around to try to move the pieces on the board, which is very interesting. 06 is doing the same thing too. But yeah. Look, this guy, look at how the marches are splitting. They're going to get singled out, going one on top, some on bottom. So it's going to be, there's Mystical getting popped on the side of 06.
I like that they're popping the buffs now, actually, for what it's worth. The buff lasts a really long time, so you may as well have it from the start of the fight. And man, those marches got split from the top side of the Temple of Osiris. 1V decides, that's it, we're in. Oh, or are they? They're sort of backing off a little bit, and now they move in.
Look at the
Here
structures.
It is, big brawl. The first Temple of Osiris brawl in Ark of Osiris League Grand Finals. Drop in the chat, who do you think will reign victorious? The playing field is level. There's no equipment. There's no commander advantages here. It's purely which team is better.
And I'm looking right now, man. These structures are looking really spicy. I'm looking on the south side.
Oh my gosh.
Being taken by 1V with 46 seconds before they can pour it in. But all the other structures are blinking red with a 880 points per minute against 280 for the side of 1V. So 1V really do need this arc. And with 30 seconds, let's hope they can clear these guys out in the obelisk, girls. This is going to smell trouble.
Yeah, I think they are going to get this arc. I see just a absolutely absurd amount of blue marches on my screen and 100% sad faces for high hopes here. So I think this arc is actually, like, put that one in the books, man. First Temple of Osiris brawl here in the hands firmly of 1V. They're going to take that arc, and now they've got to sort out this absolute disaster. Yep. A catastrophe on their back lane here. All these buildings have been taken. All these buildings were taken by High Hopes. Very impressive gameplay, actually. And, of course, 1V's already all over it. Chandra Gupta rally. Kind of cool. Probably Chandra Nevsky. Is that what we're looking at here? Almost certainly. Jad Garrison to try to take back this Shrine of War.
Yeah, and and it's one of those things, I like the play from 06 on that one. They understood 1V had to invest a little bit more. I firmly do believe in mid-game, they tend to do that. So they took advantage of the outside structures. They flipped it, assuming those points per minute, ticking, will make this arc worthless, essentially. And right now we're looking at 2K lead.
I actually really like this play by 1V. The amount of time that High Hopes has to hold these structures to offset an Ark of Osiris, even just the first arc, is actually a shockingly long amount of time, and they're just not going to get that kind of time on these structures. especially because it's not the altars. And look at that. Shrine of Life just flipped back. Shrine of War is in the progress of flipping back. I mean, this is exactly how I think 1V dreamed up this play, is that they send everybody to middle, lose their structures for a little bit of time, and say, okay, we concede to you a small amount of structure points, but we're going to get the arc, and that's worth more. And if we get those edges every single time that an arc spawns, we're going to beat you. So I think 1V is obviously all in on the arc game here, and I don't think that, based on what I just saw, that High Hopes is running a building strategy. I think either they spread themselves thin and it costs them the arc there, or actually, I'm not sure that I even have an or lined up here. I mean, I think they might have just spread thin and it might have just cost them an arc.
You know, and I'm kind of okay with that. If you're O6, you know, you took first occupation from that altar, cushions the blow a little bit, you know, and then you held on that with 4 to 5 times X points per minute on the structures. You know, we're looking almost at a 3K lead right here in favor of O6, that first arc being worth 3,000 points. The nice thing for 1V is because they took that arc, it allows them the ability to reset and dictate kind of when the next arc's going to pop, if, you know, when and if that's when's going to pop. It's just a matter of them controlling it. So it is, you know, I definitely think that it's a surprise. I bet you most of the people in the chat probably would have assumed that at this point, O6 probably would have been down by 10K points. Or, you know, and I'm just excited the fact that we're seeing O6 in the lead. Yes, they don't have that arc, but it is putting them in a position where even when they do capture this arc, they're still going to be neck and neck.
Yeah, wow, even Ethel Honda Tadakatsu, very interesting choices here. I just kind of feel like 1V is very happy with what just happened. And again, that's because if you can't beat them in mid, they're going to just get like every single arc. They're very good at mid. So I don't know, man. I mean, taking those buildings was definitely good mitigation of what happened in mid. You know, like you stopped some of the bleed of all those points. By the way, you can see the Amanitore Artemisia on the field specifically for this role right here. Sometimes you surprise capture a building and then you need a garrison captain, and it's a great choice for that situation. But I feel like High Hopes has got to have a strategy to either win that mid fight or hold these buildings longer, or they're definitely going to lose.
I agree. And you know, that's what makes us you kind of had the game within the game. You know where 1V is very, very strong. We've all witnessed it. We casted it all season long. They're super strong in middle, regardless of where they're positioned, whether they're having to be the aggressor or whether they're already, you know, forward facing on the map. That is kind of one of their biggest breads and butters. You know, it's those teams that have the ability to kind of sneak a arc, at least one, and then do really, really solid on the occupation game is when you start seeing the super tight games, such as, you know, when I believe you and Drago were casting. Was it the BG match? It was I remember Drago was sweating because they were so close to capturing that final arc that they had snuck away, and it was just insane. So you know, I think that if O6 can sneak at least one arc out of possibly 3 that we could see, I think that will put them in a very, very good position, you know, and it allows them to focus on their structure game.
Yeah. So that's what I'd like to see them do, is more pressure on the structures. Can they actually take these things from 1V and hold them for a meaningful amount of time? And that's what we get to watch now as the rally arrives here. XY is a great rally. Nevsky is the secondary. You can tell from the cape right over there on that commander. That's a Nevsky. I'd spot it from a mile away. And also, I mean, it's a pretty safe assumption.
I'm looking right now at an XY Honda combo on the Shrine of War bottom side. So we're seeing some unique combos. So like I said, you're going to see some different stuff. There's 06 with that XY Honda combo.
I like that combo for field. I wouldn't rally with it, but man, for field, that's a great combo.
And so that's why I'm excited. Like, our viewers get to see all these unique combos that normally you're rarely going to see outside of the top tier teams. because it's just, you know, when people talk XY now, it is usually just XY Nevsky, and that's all we hear about all over the news. But you know, it's Arc is a whole other animal, and that's why it's exciting to watch these. You will see a lot of different variations from all varieties of teams.
Yeah. I mean, I made a video sort of walking through why it is that Honda Tadakatsu is so good in this game mode, especially when I went and maxed him myself. But to sort of recap in a nutshell, it's about the extra march speed, the extra troop capacity, area of effect damage, and not caring about the troop type. So you can use them on just so many different marches and commanders. And 20% march speed, man, you better believe that is just amazing. And all 4 altars in the hands of High Hopes. Well, I will say this. To your credit, you said this is what they would have to do. I doubted that this could be done. And here they are doing it. This is actually got to be very alarming for 1V.
You know, and this is the matches that have been really close at 1V. Now, the on the backside, the other thing that O6 needs to be understanding of is that 1V is surprisingly a very good provisioning squad as well. They are not going to come lacking in that department, so you don't want to get caught sleeping if you are O6. You definitely are going to have to provision. I know we saw some going out in the very beginning, so I suspect they're very good in their own right in doing that. But the structure game is looking really good for O6. You know, they're up by 3K right now. The Arc's getting held by 1V. And the points per minute has not really changed. It's still 3 times in favor of O6. So they are doing what they need to do. It's going to be very interesting to check out the timing when they do decide to capture this Arc, because I do feel like that is one of the biggest things for 1V is mid game.
Yeah, I mean, this is nothing short of a disaster for 1V. Losing all 4 altars, and they did get 1 altar now, so it's 3 altars to 1. But that was a very dangerous few minutes, and for 1V, it's very good for them that they were able to start to fix that situation. Now they've got another one back. Man, I mean, it was pretty dangerous. So they've evened up the number of structures here, and they may even flip it in their favor. I mean, this is very swingy from one side to another here. You can see this momentum of troops coming back, I think, from cities and getting back in the field. And now it's all 4 altars for 1V.
Yep.
On the topic of momentum swings, there you have it. All 4 altars, both Shrines of War. Oof.
If that's not a call out to capture the Arc, and let's start rotating in, because the amount of neutrals right now, we're looking at 370 points per minute for 1V and 210 for 06. So all those altars completely flipping, going neutral. So the points per minute, you know, is kind of in the dirt right now, but you are seeing so many structures blinking all over the place for 1V. And, you know, the pressure's there. And just as I flip to some of these structures, they're just getting absolutely melted. And Jadwiga on the Sky Altar top side getting swarmed down by 06. But let's see if they can actually do it. 1V has a lot of presence all over forward facing on this field right now.
I mean, I have to say it very much favors 1V when points from structure gain is low.
Yeah.
Which is what you were describing. This so many of these structures keep flipping hands. For the audience that may not be familiar with this, the building has to be in your hands for 3 minutes before it starts giving you points per minute. So it's very important in this situation that you not only take the building, but that you hold it. And because the buildings have been changing hands so much, well, Burritos was pointing out that, like, guys, none of these buildings are actually scoring any points for anybody, which means having more arcs is more valuable. And if you're 1V, that's like kind of where you want to be.
Yeah, that's your home right there. And as we were chatting, right when they flipped over, about 30 seconds later, they captured that arc. So we have a brand new timer for a brand new arc counting down at 7 minutes. So we should start seeing some rotations. This is where that pace and being able to dictate the pace, where your marches were. If you have a lot of red marches, this is their opportunity to swarm down structures, kill them off so that they can send fresh marches rotating towards middle and be there right around the 5 minute mark. So we're going to see a lot of structures. This is where 06 flipped all the structures last time, was during this awkward rotation. So let's see if they do the same thing this time.
Yeah, we saw Banana Tommy garrison very briefly. I'll note that the brevity of their time in the garrison is a reflection of their strength. And now we've got Chandra Gupta captain. But, you know, the thing is, even if you've got access to all these commanders, that doesn't mean that you have the garrison captains on the field at that exact moment. And one thing I did notice that I thought was actually kind of cool, that's worth talking about, is I saw some amount of, I think, YSS with Theo in garrison. And the reason I thought that that was kind of cool is it's kind of paying homage to the fact that, like, hey, there's no equipment. So it's not like I got to invest in, like, leadership equipment here. And we are using all the different troop types. So let's just pick some garrison captains that use all the troop types, you know?
Ah, okay.
It's actually pretty reasonable.
I like that. And like we said, you know, I think this is where game planning and strategy, when the field is level and everything is available, you'll see some very, very different strategies than if you were assuming everybody's swarming with legendary proc equipment. And, you know, it changes the way that you have to game plan for your opponent. And right now, you know, it's O6 HS are holding up really, really well against, you know, OneV, who a lot of us regarded as, you know, one of the top two teams, I would say, in all of Rise of Kingdoms. You know, I know up there with 60 GT and those crews. So I am loving what I'm seeing from O6 right now with 5 minutes. And we're going to start checking out. There's OneV coming in early for the rotation in towards mid. This arc fight is going to be absolutely brutal. But OneV is now taking a 1K lead over O6.
Yeah, scoring that arc did wonders. Nice 3K point surge. And now there's just a little bit of tussle left, I think, before everybody goes to the middle. 4 minutes and 40 seconds till the arc spawns. Some number of these folks are barely going to have enough time to go home and get a fresh march and bring it to middle. They may have to just be a part of the reinforcing party here for middle, rather than a part of the initial fight, which is what it is. Here comes a Bertrand rally on its way downfield.
Dude, I love that accent. Okay.
Hey,
we got to do this every time now.
I chatted with somebody, okay, who worked with me on pronouncing it correctly, and I am pretty sure that that's actually how you pronounce it. It is absolutely not pronounced Bertrand. That's not how it's pronounced. Now, where is that thing going? To an outpost. So, a rally with Bertrand on the outpost there.
Somebody clip this,
God.
please.
Hey,
that's too good. That's too good. We can crab brave later, but
okay.
Man, it's turning out to be a really, really good match. We are seeing O6, you know, refocus on structures again. OneV dumping in all of their troops again. Something that they do that is very, very unique, and a couple of other teams do it as well, is when it comes to rotating in arc, they actually pull their provisioner and have him go to mid game at least one rotation when they're rotating in arc. So they aren't provisioning constantly throughout the entire match, which is, I know some of our top tier teams do it, but a lot of people assume that provisioners just stay out the entire game. But those additional 5 marches sometimes help, you know, or the little bit of a difference. So, you know, and that's kind of something to keep our eyes on. 1V are looking really, really stacked in the middle. 06 seems like they're bringing a lot more bodies this time. So
I think
we
so.
could be in for a treat.
I actually really like this play from 06. They kind of saw that what they did last time didn't work. And whether or not this is all part of the plan, we will never know. But I actually really like the, I think, much more committed presence they have in mid right now compared to what they had last time. I like this a lot. I don't see people sort of running off to the side, taking these structures. I think they realize they need to commit to mid and they need to actually win this fight. So this is very important, especially if your theory about, hey, sometimes you just need one arc in a good building game or even just a decent building game. Like if that's what they're going for, they got to start to get, it's either this one or the next one. And they're going to run out of time, in fact, if they push for just the third.
And it's good. And I'm checking out the March compositions right now, and we got a little bit of a difference. 06 running a lot of XYs XY combos and then Nebu primaries. And then you have a lot more XY and then Nevsky primaries on the side of 1V. So we are seeing some different varying strategies depending on March compositions. So we're gonna see how it works out. You know, whether it's about the AOE or whether it's about the Kev gang. So as we've seen 06 starting to push now, it should be interesting to see who's going to win this arc.
It is surprising to not see more Nevsky primaries on the side of High Hopes. I think the 2 marches for Cavs that seem to be agreed upon, maybe it's not fair to say agreed upon meta, but my understanding of meta is Nevsky William and XY Honda, and you just kind of run it like that. That Guan got a little caught out there. Little caught out, and by a little caught out, I mean completely melted and afforded a number of these marches from 1V to be able to rage transfer from that target onto the next, and then the mid ball begins. There's to the death for High Hopes. War Drums activated. Did both sides do high? Wait. Did both sides do to the death? What are we looking at here?
Only 06. Only 06 popped it.
Oh, wow. And there is Heaven's Grace, presumably, in fact, it has to be, on behalf of 1V. There it is.
A little bit of a lag, but yeah, that's where you see all those green numbers popping out, and we're gonna see they held on to it for a little bit, take advantage of that. So
both sides having marches get sent home. Hard to say who's winning just yet. Only will time reveal who emerges victorious here. I see a number of 1V marches heading home. This is big. This is the one play from High Hopes to get this arc, because they have burned the most important asset they have. That is to the death. Massively improving your damage for a short window of time, but also making it so you cannot receive heals. And this is looking like it might be in favor of 1V. I'm seeing a lot of blue, but when I look at the marches being sent home, hard to say who's actually winning. Both sides having their marches sent.
Yeah, and I see a huge ball of blue on the side of 06 on that side of the field, but nobody's picking up the arc. You know, this is one of those, if you're 06 and you know that they're clearing them out. It's looking really blue now.
It is looking really blue. This is really bad for High Hopes, because that to the death is that's your ticket to the arc. And they cashed in the ticket and they got no arc, which is bad news, because now 1V will absolutely, no questions asked, I think, go for a third arc as well in the timing of their choice, and they will use to the death. And in fairness, we just saw 1V counter to the death with a combination of skills here. So it can be done, but this is really tough. This is really, really tough for High Hopes.
And just the amount, just looking at all these surviving troop marches that are coming, so many Nevskys and XYs. Like, this is one of those, you know, like we keep saying, guys, even with level playing field, it's just a matter of kind of the synergy between all your marches that comes into play, especially during mid game. It is huge how it stacks up. We aren't talking about daggers and equipment anymore. It's just about marches themselves and how they kind of work together. We're seeing a lot of, you know, those XYs with Honda, like you were saying, XY with William. I saw those combos. So we are seeing a lot of varying combos that just have a lot of synergy with each other.
Yeah. I mean, very impressive gameplay here also. Ooh, look at that. A little bit of Cyrus Gilgamesh running around. I personally have been using that all KVK. Really loving that combo. Nice utility on there. Some good debuffs. I mean, I think there's some very purposeful synergy of a lot of these marches, especially the Cyrus, by the way, increasing damage taken over time, and the number of not XYs, the Honda Tadakatsus running around, which does damage over time. Like, there's some really, I think, subtle but effective synergy between these marches.
And I do like what we're seeing when we're rotating in, guys. When they did win that arc, they immediately rotated forward with all these red and yellow marches, and then just zeroed themselves on the city in order to start working towards sending out fresh troops on the field. At the same time, this arc runner is probably going to just head back to the obelisk hold it for a couple of minutes to allow those marches to move forward on the field. And then that's kind of where holding the arc allows your team kind of that minute to breathe. You know, you get to refresh your marches, you aren't pressured. If you're on the side of '06, you are under the gun at this point. Just because you are down by 2K, this arc's worth 3,500. So you're realistically down by 5K right now. So you really do need to start flipping some structures to kind of mitigate those points that you're going to lose on this arc. And hope that there is another arc. You know, if they hold it for 11 minutes, that leaves 12 minutes left, assuming they don't drop it, you know, and lower it down. We could see a 2 arc game. We could also, you know, and that's where the game within the game comes, is what they want to do. They did see them pop to the death, so you know that they're not going to have it on the next rotation for arc. But yeah, moving forward, there's hard push coming out for '06. They are going to have to flip and hyper invest on the structure game.
Yeah, they know they've got to get these buildings, or they've got a big problem here. And dude, I just even saw an Ethel Tommy on the field. I mean, there's just some really unusual combos. But these teams obviously know what they're doing, so it's just really interesting. Edward and Tommy all over the place. What the heck? I wonder if the Edward and Tommy is in part more valuable because there isn't as much equipment. I don't know. I would love to be able to chat with someone from these teams and see why it is they're using some of these marches that had, I think, otherwise been disregarded. My bad, by the way, for disregarding Banana Helmet. I mean, I think my nickname for him kind of says it all, but here he is all over the battlefield for both sides.
Yeah, you know, and I know the archer primaries out here. There's a Caesar right here, Desert Altar topside. Well, he just got melted. So, you know, and that's what makes this very, very unique, especially when there's no equipment and all that kind of stuff. You really start to see the pureness of the commanders. So you start to see stuff like this, you know, where you're seeing Eddie, Tommy, where a lot of people, you know, would have associated that being great in those realms where, you know, the commanders were locked. I know that that's all we saw, you know, running around. But to see that in a contest with OneV and the amount that they're sending on the field is just insane. So it is something to keep our eyes on. I'll be interested to see if they do this in our second match for the day, and see kind of if we see some unique combos coming out of that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of what's going on here, you know, just in case it wasn't clear, is that if you're swarming a building with 12 marches, the Tommy debuff is absolutely disgusting. Like, building up to 45% more skill damage for a grand total of 12 marches doing that skill damage is just super OP. So I think that's probably what they're after. By the way, we're seeing literally the exact same thing unfold that we had unfold last time. All 4 altars in the hands of High Hopes, and then literally the exact same altar flipping back now to 1V. Oh, but this time going back to High Hopes. There was a Caesar captain here. You know, personally, I really dislike using marches that are just for filling. So, you know, the reason you bring Caesar is to fill with more troops for the 4th skill, extra troop capacity. And I actually just personally really dislike that because sometimes you end up needing to fight with it and you can't. It's just a terrible march to fight with. And that was the case there. They were very briefly the garrison. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to tell these teams they're doing something wrong. I need to just learn from what they're doing. But that's the objection I've always had to sort of using marches like that, is that you might get caught out when you really need to be able to have a fighting march instead.
Yeah, and I actually agree with that. I think the higher tier that you get in the league, you start to see that. You start to see them focus, especially right off the breakoffs. You'll start to see those Xenos getting focused down, all the garrisons getting focused down, and at a certain point, you'll start finding that those teams will hide them in either res nodes, or they'll hide them to where you're not going to see what the march is. But that is a problem when it comes to reinforcing. You know, when you're sending those Caesars and all that kind of stuff. I'm on the same side as you. I prefer to see fighting marches on the field, and then they feel, because that one time you get caught out, you're going to get caught out and get absolutely melted, and then you've served no purpose. So, you know, we are seeing, kind of an even field, just flip flopping. This is still going to fold in favor of 1V just because they are holding on to that arc. They still have another 7 minutes, and the lead did get reduced to 1K. So they are slowly cutting it down for the side of '06. But you really, really got to start pushing that. We should start seeing maybe some extra additional provisioners from them coming out soon, just to kind of adapt. Because this would be around the 15-minute mark, where if you're having to play catch up, that's probably when you're going to have your last resort. And then at the very end, trying to neutralize as many structures as possible.
I mean, I will say here, this is unfolded almost identically to the last time around that this happened, right? Like, High Hopes took all the altars. 1V took one back, and then 1V took them all. Now, in this case, 1V didn't take them all, but they still have 3. And to hold the arc and 3 altars is really problematic for High Hopes.
Yeah, those high scoring structures, and once again, look at 1V. I'm looking top side, Sky Altar. We're looking at the YSS garrison, so they are utilizing, like you were saying. I think it is because of the mixed troops. You just basically dump whatever you can get in there and hold it as long as you possibly can, which is the name of, that's the name of the game in Arc. The idea that you will hold a structure forever, it doesn't really. You're just trying to hold it as long as you can, get as many ticks as you can to score as many points. And just like that, look at the score. We're under 1,000-point difference. And, they still are holding that arc, which is going to be in their obelisk zone right now. And it's going to come down to the wire. We're going to see if those provision marches are going to do work for '06. And I'm going to be scanning the field real quick to see how many provisioners we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, Chad is pointing out, by the way, I just thought this was such a good observation, that there's not a lot of Esong on this battlefield. That's like the commander that's missing. And I think in a world in which you can have access to every commander for free, folks are seeing that, hey, there's some other things we want to be trying instead of Esong. So I think that's actually a really good insight into kind of what the best of the best choices might be. And I will point out, when I battled in this last KVK, I actually took Esong out of my murder ball and instead was using Nebu with Honda, because I felt like that was giving me, I think, a faster moving and tankier option that still did a lot of damage. So I do think it's very interesting here. If somebody spots an Esong literally anywhere, say something in the chat. Because I've not seen one. I've not seen one. And I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I scanned the field on '06, and I believe we only have one provisioner running out there right now. So there was between 5 and I believe it was 5 marches that I counted. So it could be split over several people. I didn't click on them, but they don't have a ton of provisioners going in on the side of '06. So it is all coming down to the structure game.
Wow. I mean, this is exciting. The structure game at play for only another 3 minutes and 50 seconds at most. Then they have to score the arc. Then it's 8 minutes for the arc to spawn. I mean, we've got another arc for sure that's going to unfold here.
Are you surprised? I was going to ask you, are you surprised by the amount of museum commanders that aren't on the field? Because I know during the league we saw a ton of that on the field, and I'm very surprised not to see as many as we were seeing before. It could be I don't even know why it would switch that drastically, especially on the side of 1V. They were sending a ton. Usually their breakoffs consisted of a ton of CCs pushing and minas and all that, and I'm seeing CC Caesar right here on this Desert Altar bottom side for the side of '06. So they are bringing out different combos, but I'm just surprised to notice that as well.
Yeah, actually, I want to point out something I was just seeing, which is that, first of all, no Esong. They're even using Gilgatami. You may recall a time when I was laughed at for suggesting that pair. I was told what a buffoon I was, how I knew nothing about the game. And here we are, Ark of Osiris League, Grand Finals. And they're like, oh no, that's actually just the meta, GG. But also I loved how 1V was swarming the rally. And then they realized that rather than just take out the rally, they'd rather let it run for a while and keep those marches locked up on the Shrine of War, unable to go home, but stuck in that combat until they ultimately get defeated. So rather than hasten their trip home, they just kind of let them sit there for longer. So I thought that whole maneuver, in case you weren't watching what was on the screen there, you could rewind and then see that again. I thought that was a nice little maneuver there.
Yeah, and you notice right when you said that, they captured the Ark. So they're just like, we'll let them stay there for a little while. We'll let them hang out while we're going to have a third and final Ark. And for those of y'all wondering, yes, there will be enough time to capture if they decide, there might need to be some abilities, but if it is contested, it's going to be very hard to capture with what would be around 6 minutes left in the game. I have seen stuff get captured in sub 230. So, you pop a little swift stride, it could get a little dicey, but with a 7K point lead and some provisioning, coming on the side of 1V, I assume this is going to be an uphill battle for sure for 06.
I want to take a moment to circle back to your comment about museum commanders, because I think it was actually really insightful. And I think there are 2 museum commanders at play, but not the ones I was expecting. I don't see Minamoto really anywhere, which I think is interesting because he does great single target damage and makes the target take 30% damage for 3 seconds. That's a big debuff for swarming a structure, but I haven't even seen him used occasionally for like flavor, like a little bit of spice. None of it. But what I do see from museum commanders all over the battlefield is double C. Double C is all over the place. And the most common secondary is Caesar, usually. So it's that filling march that these teams seem to have aligned on as being like fast and fat, Got to get those extra troops in there.
Somebody was saying museum does not work in grand finals. I don't remember seeing that in the rules. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't remember seeing it in the rules.
Museum. Oh, there's a Minamoto. Okay, well, GG. There it is. The flavor has arrived. Let's go. Do the museum buffs apply? I don't know. If they don't, that's actually a pretty big deal. That could certainly explain why we're not seeing as much Esong. Although, look at Mina Khan. Okay, now the Khan, bro, I'm just saying, I don't know what that's doing there. But Mina, hey, let's go. I support this.
Somebody said they saw a YSG finally. So, Yun.
All right, there is a singular Esong on the battlefield, Pog. What I am noticing is that your civilization troop type does seem to apply, perhaps. I could, maybe not. I'll have to get a closer look to see if I see special. Oh yeah, there's Ottoman. So your civilization is relevant here. So there's your flavor for buffs. Is pick your civilization wisely. I saw Arabia and now I see Ottoman. So it does look like your civilization special unit is relevant. And I see some Germany. Awkward. Outed for troop training. Busted. I mean, I guess if you've already won Osiris finals, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess you care about grand finals, not gonna lie, but like also you're already feeling pretty good about life. Know what I mean? Do you Civ swap again for the grand finals? I don't know. And I mean, in fairness, I don't know. Teams may not have known whether or not they would get special units based on their civilization and civilization boosts, Like, yeah. I mean, it's hard to know. Now that we're in here, teams may make a few swaps, perhaps, for their civilizations, but I guess we'll see. Germany must have been training for the zenith of power,
And we're seeing both teams kind of tee off for the last arc. Got 3.5 minutes before it ticks over. 9 minutes left in the match. We're seeing a couple of 1V marches playing a little chicken out here. You love to see it. And 1V starting to jump their troops in.
They're like sharks, man. They smell the blood. They're
They're
swimming
doing
in
the
that
Fortnite
water.
dance out there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. These guys. This is
It's about as
it's
deep
something, all
into the
right.
enemy as you can get. They're literally in the marches. Oh my
You know,
goodness.
I've always thought it's kind of funny. Like you got these like gigantic knights in this huge armor and like itty bitty horse legs. Like all you really see is like the armor. Even the horses in this game skipped leg day.
Oh man. Savage. I forgot which troop it is, but there's always a little kid that holds the banner, and I'm like, man. I always go back to those war games where it's always like the drummer boy or the flag bearer that's like the first one
there
off
they
the
are.
field. I'm just like, oh no.
All right. Well, oh god. Our distractions aside here.
Oh, sorry, fam.
No, it's this is a part of the entertainment that you've signed up for.
Yes.
Now we've got a mid fight that's about to unfold, and we see 1V taking the classic spread formation, whereas we got a little bit more like an I formation coming from High Hopes. The I formation is not recommended. You basically have people in the back that are a full 5 to 10 seconds late to the party, so you've got a few leading players here that may need to pull back, and the players in the back need to catch up to the front. But they are breaking already on 1V. 1V starting to maneuver even to the outside here on both sides, so going to completely surround them if they can swing it. However, do you see what I see, man? Why does 1V not seem like they have very many players here? They own all 4 altars. What are they doing?
Honestly, I don't even think. I think they understand the idea that as long as they contest this, it's going to be pretty hard. It's gonna be pretty hard. I think that we're seeing the retreat, and they're probably waiting for the skills, and then they're gonna reapproach.
I don't think they're going for this arc, bro. I actually think they don't care. They're just going for the building game. Plot twist, they're saving to the death and not even gonna use it.
Yeah. They're gonna use it on a structure. No, just kidding.
High Hopes used Heaven's Grace. I'll tell you this. High Hopes is getting this arc. 100%. They're getting this arc. And it's going to cost them every relevant structure on the board to do it.
Yep.
We were so busy looking at those 2 marches running back and forth that we missed the fact that the whole map turned blue. Honestly, that was a brilliant strategy. They got everybody in middle looking at those 2 marches and not realizing that, like, the whole board just flipped blue, bro. The whole board. Oh my gosh.
He wasn't ready. Oh man. Look, you just see the 1V.
It's so one-sided. Like everybody 1V is going home. Nobody expected them to run buildings. It's actually evil genius right there. It's actually evil genius. Everybody expects a big mid fight, and then they don't do it because, I mean, who doesn't use to the death when you have it available? 1V doesn't. Because they know that they think you're going to go mid, and instead you go buildings. Honestly, genius. Evil genius. Love to see it. Even got the obelisk. GG.
Yep. All altars are ticking. All the outposts. Literally, 13 seconds, and they're going to port in for this topside obelisk on the side of...
Evil genius. Love to see it. No one is actually evil. I'm just making a joke. It's diabolical is what I'm trying to say. Right? Let me run that by everybody again, because that was pretty cool. They had to the death, which is a guaranteed win for a team like 1V if they commit to middle. But instead of taking the arc, which was expected, they took literally every other relevant building on the board. Nobody expected it. I'm actually surprised they busted that move out here. I feel like they should have saved that for the finals of the grand finals. Right?
Yeah,
like,
what are we calling this? Yeah. The finals of the finals of the finals.
The final finals. I don't know, man. The final grand finals. That is where I would have busted out that move. Because that was pretty amazing. Now, they haven't teleported forward. I was showing this because I was like, are they going to teleport? And the answer is No, they are not taking this for some strategic teleport maneuver. And I think a part of the reason for that is that it's not like you've got some 300 million power player that you can port in and start zeroing cities, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and everybody has every commander, so they probably have backup garrisons they all can put on their wall. Like, swarming of players is really just, like, not profitable here. So, that's interesting.
Or you give them the arc and then take all the structures and then tell them, hey, go ahead and try to capture it. You know,
honestly, where is the arc? Like, where are they going to take it?
They're heading to the outpost right now.
They can't go here. I mean, the enemy owns it. Oh my God. This is weird, honestly.
Now this Nevsky's going to kill this arc carrier.
Oh my God. If 1v takes this arc and scores it at the outpost, I'm going to lose my mind. Actually, I'm going to lose my mind. By the way, if you're enjoying the live stream, throw a like on here and consider subscribing. We'll be streaming on the channel more Ark of Osiris League Grand Finals. You're not going to want to miss it. Also, check the links in the description. Bulbaritos and I have our own YouTube channels where we produce content for Rise of Kingdoms. Check them out. You know, Bulba, I know I've got a 14 UTC ARC match after this. You might as well. I know lots of the people viewing do too. So maybe this is the point now that the ARC has been scored and we're looking at 36,000 to 29,500, where we start to talk about the takeaways from this match, things we've learned, to maybe debrief a little bit.
Cool.
What do you think?
Yeah. You know, I was surprised by some of the combos we saw. You know, I think that's something like we were saying that you're going to see, you know, even with all the commanders available to everybody. It's just the amount of work that you put in towards kind of the combos you're sending towards mid game. Like the mid, let's be perfectly honest. It wasn't close. And that's what's surprising is first one, I think it was maybe lack of bodies, but the second one, it was just the skills and the timing of it and just the strategy in general. I think is what you start to notice. I still was impressed by 06 and their occupation in the very beginning. But 1V is kind of that big wave that just keeps crashing and crashing. And at some point, you know, they kind of start showing the cracks.
Yeah, I will agree that given the lifting of restrictions of access to commanders, it's interesting what choices were made here. I think we saw way more Tommy than we would have expected, except not to pat myself on the back when I predicted that and I was told I was a raving lunatic. Way more Tommies. I think I, at the start of the match, said Guan Alex would be everywhere rather than Guan Leo. That's for the March speed. Ethelfled all over the place. Peacekeeping, March speed again, rather than Trajan primary. Trajan is here. The combos are definitely relevant. Honda, all over the place, man. But despite the fact that both teams had access to all the commanders, I still think there's some secret sauce in the way that 1V does their mid fight that other teams have not exactly cracked yet. So it'll be interesting to see if we can find a team that is able to kind of replicate that strength in mid. I liked your insight earlier that you could pull the provisioners and have them go to mid, and that's a part of the sauce, the secret sauce, perhaps. But I think there's more to it about what they're targeting, the way they're positioning, and more that really makes that tick. Also, there are now E-songs on the battlefield. And there is the final score here. We are looking at the MVP with an individual score of almost 210,000 from High Hopes, and final score 39,927 to 32,648. That is the greater than 5,000 point spread that you predicted, although it is not much greater than a 5,000 point spread. 6,500 points for the ARC for 1V, 29,300 points for Occupation for 1V. Now, Provisioning is where High Hopes took a little bit of a lead by about 1,000 points, 4,987. However, not enough to offset how strong 1V was for both Ark of Osiris and Occupation. And what's interesting here is that actually High Hopes did more killing and a lot more healing. Wow. But they did do more killing. So killing doesn't mean necessarily that you win. It's the right kills at the right time. You know, as we wrap this up so that folks can make their way to their own Ark of Osiris matches here, is there anything that you want to share? Any final insights?
You know, I'm excited to see who they get matched up against. I think the other two teams on the other side, they're going to be playing at 15 UTC. I think are both very, very solid, very great teams when it comes to mid. Especially, you know, I know I've seen a lot of 60 GT. I didn't have the pleasure of casting too much of the 61 squad, but 60 GT do run very unique combos as well in middle. So it's going to be very interesting to see which of those two teams match up against 1V next week, because both of those teams will provide us some insane content for the next 3 weeks as they battle in that best of 3.
Couldn't agree more. And if you want to see that, as well as our colorful commentary on what's happening on the battlefield, subscribe to the channel. Throw a like on here. Also, consider subscribing to our own channels. Links in the description. And we'll see you back here at 15 UTC for the next Ark of Osiris. Wow. Not Ark of Osiris League. The Ark of Osiris League Grand Finals. Until then, you have fun smashing your enemies, and we'll see you real soon.